A founder told me that my price was too high. And 1 minute later, in the same conversation, in the same breath, he tells me that the price that his team orders lunches and dinners is like peanuts for him. That he used to check them before, but today he doesn't even looks at that. This is the same person, just 60 seconds apart. And he just shares with me two different relationships with money that he has. At one place, this is a huge amount, and at another place, this is peanuts. Now, this looks like a story about pricing or about money, but it is not. And I want you to hear it that way. It is a story about what often money and many other things reveal about you and your team when you finally look deeper beyond the surface. And most people look away rather than going to the depth of it. Right? So today we are not going to look away. Today we are going to go to the depth of this. So here is the situation that we were faced with. This founder wants to grow his business by 5 times over. He wants to multiply his revenues by 5x and grow his profit 10x in the next 3 to 5 years. Now, these are big numbers. This is a huge amount of growth to target. So he knows exactly what he's going after. So I told him what it would take in dollar amount to work with me so that I can support him and his team to get there, which is very similar to many other partners that I have that I'm currently working with. And I could see it immediately. Something in him tightened the moment I shared the number. Now, he did not say that I'm not sure if this will work. He did not say that I am scared. He didn't say that. In fact, what I got was reasons. And the reasons were all good looking, right? The reasons were like the timing is not right. The reasons were like, let me think about it for another month. Let me think about it one more time. Let me reflect over it. And maybe next month, maybe next quarter, maybe we are not there yet. Something like that. Now, I'm talking about this today is because you have said these sentences, sometimes just to yourself or sometimes to other people. I have said these sentences when I am facing a big investment, especially when it is connected to a big future or a dream that I have, right? And here is the part that almost most people skip. Those sentences are not lies, right? They are not wrong. In fact, they were more accurately a translation from what was going on inside and what actually is comfortable or acceptable to say on the outside. And many times it happens subconsciously that we don't even realize this. Many of these sentences, which I have seen for myself as well, is a polite and a socially acceptable translation of something which is much more deeper, something which is much more raw. Raw in a way that to speak it out loud would make you really shake, would make you really touch some nerves because you're touching upon a part of yourself which you have tried very hard, which we all try very hard to never see or to never let out in the open. And the raw version would actually sound like this, right? That this is more money than I have ever committed to my own growth. And then some part of me still doesn't believe that I am the kind of person who spends this way, or I am the kind of person who deserves to spend this way, or I am the kind of person who even deserves to go for this big dream that I have. It's almost easier to convince ourselves to backtrack from our dream than to commit in terms of an investment or in terms of any other action, something which is very nervy, is very scary, and it really is something very difficult and raw for us to even acknowledge, some many times to even to ourselves. And I speak about this from personal experience because I have made investments in myself in the last 6 years, which sounds foolish, it sounds obnoxious. Now, nobody says this out loud, right? Nobody says that some part of me still doesn't believe that I deserve that kind of a success or I have what it takes to go after that. Now, people don't say that, and I don't say that, not because like I and you are dishonest. We don't say that because saying it would mean confessing something about who we think that we are. And that is a far bigger confession than just thinking about, okay, let's wait for a few more months. Oh, this is not the right time. Oh, this is too big for me. That kind of a reason which delays it just a bit or gives a good enough reason why we can't do something is often much, much safer than simply acknowledging that maybe at some level we are still scared, at some level we still don't believe that level of success is what we deserve or what we belong in. And so we make a story, we make a reason, a wonderful looking reason about timing. And we say, let me think about it, let me deliberate over it. But can you catch the absurdity in that, right? Because this CEO wanted to grow his business by 5x. He wanted to grow his profits by 10x in the next 3 to 5 years. Now, whichever way you calculate it, from this revenue and profits that he want. My fees, what I offered, was like not even 1%, not even 1% of the incremental gain he was going on. But to acknowledge the reality from where he is today, from the kind of investments he has made today, and from what he sees, and these are his own words, right? When his team spends money on lunch and dinner, that is peanuts for him. This amount, to be very honest, is not peanuts for him. But it is not even 1% of the dream, of the vision that he is going forward. So what he did in that moment was he flinched. He got uncomfortable, not at the amount, not at the money, but at his own dream. And there was a price tag on it. Yes, there was a price tag, but he flinched. He almost backed away from his own dream. Now, slow down with me here, right? Because I really want you to get it, and it is very easy to misunderstand this, right? The future is never a place that you get to in the future. The future is never a place to arrive somewhere. The future is always a place where you come from. Future is not a place you arrive at. The future is a place that you come from. Now, if you look at yourself today, who you are being today comes before the results that you produce, not after, before. The results are always downstream. They are always the effect, never the cause of who you are. And most people have this backwards. They think that first I get the result and then I become the person who was capable of it. First I have the result and then I become bold, then I become whatever. But actually it runs the other way around. And this is me speaking from my experience of working with the best of the best, like the top 1% of the top 1%, and not just in business, but across all disciplines globally. From whether be it sports, be it the founder of a non-profit organization, be it a CEO, or be it an artist who is performing their art at the top of the game, at a level which is world class, at a level which is undefeated, as a level which is unmatchable. Now, you always become the person first, right? Champions always believe and act like champions before they become the champions that we all know them for. You always become the person first in your posture, in your body language, in the way you walk, in the way you talk, in your decisions, in your commitments, and only then the result arrives much later as evidence, not as proof of who you are. So when the investment that he would have to make so that I can work with him and his entire team felt heavy to him, expensive, uncomfortable, and definitely not peanuts. That had almost nothing to do with the number. And how do I know that? Because he answered it in the same breath, that there were numbers previously which would not sound as peanuts to him, and today they sound as peanuts. And tomorrow, maybe this number would be peanuts, but today it is not. So, what will have changed when a number is peanuts once and the peanuts not another time? What changes? And it is not the number, it is the person, it is the team, it is how they think, it is who they are. It is never their bank balance, it is never their revenue. It is their sense of what they are capable of achieving, what they are capable of investing, what is normal, what is peanuts or not peanuts to spend on investment, to spend on the future that they want. It's the same number. What changes is the person. What changes is who the person, who I and you are being when we are faced with a number like that. So the number was never the obstacle. The obstacle was this. I was asking him to hold his future self's relationship with money, the relationship with money that he would have when he has 5x his revenue and 10x his profit now, today, in this present moment, in the body, in the being that today is not ready for that. And before any of the growth is there to justify that investment or that commitment. And let me say this clearly, right, because it doesn't get said enough. And that is a strange thing to ask of someone. Normally, we wouldn't even go there to ask of someone because it is strange. Yes, it feels strange. It is not supposed to be comfortable. And if it felt comfortable to him, I think I would be worried. So I asked him one question. Right? I almost laughed at his response because I saw something in him when he responded with, "This is peanuts, this is not peanuts," that I know that if he sees the same thing, he wouldn't even need me and he would go out and get that 5x results and 10x results that he has been waiting for the past so many years. So I asked him one question as we ended this call, and I'm going to ask you the same question. I would like you to take some time, take a pen and paper, and actually answer that question. And the question is, if this amount is already peanuts to you, if this huge amount, and you can make up a number for you, if this amount is already peanuts for you, not in 5 years when you have that kind of cash or when you have that kind of growth, when you have that kind of an organization. But today, right now, how would you operate if that amount is peanuts for you and you wouldn't flinch before investing that amount? How would you operate differently? How would your team operate differently? What would you commit to? Forget about our engagement. But if this amount is a no-brainer, if you wouldn't even flinch while investing, how would you operate in the rest of your life? How would your team operate in the rest of everything that you do? You're still running a business. How would that change in a day-to-day? What would you ask for? What would you finally let go of? Right? If spending this felt like a no-brainer, the way ordering dinner for your team today is, what will change if the same person who says that I don't even flinch, let's go for it, the same person shows up in the rest of your life, in the rest of your teams, every meeting that you have with your team, with your family, with your clients, with your investors, if the same person shows up who doesn't flinch, what will be the difference? How will you show up? How will you speak? What will you say yes to? What will you say no to? Where will you intervene? Where will you not intervene? What will you not tolerate? What will you delegate? What will you let go of? Now, be very careful, right? This is not a question about money. The money is just a metaphor for bringing out people's commitment. It is the smallest, most visible piece of a much bigger question. And the bigger question is, what level of commitment would you already be living inside of? And I want you to write this down. What level of commitment would you already be living inside of everywhere in your business, in your life, if you were already the person who had made this investment without even flinching? Because nobody will tell you this clearly enough and straight to your face, right? The future version of you, when your dreams come true, you don't become that person after the results show up. You will always have to become that person first, beforehand. Who you are being, how you are showing up every day produces the result, never the other way around, right? If you think that the future results will give you the permission to invest that kind of money or to ask something of somebody, then you are only going to be chasing your own tail. How you show up, what you think about yourself, how you act always comes first. And then the results follow, and it is always consistent with who you think you already are and what you think that you deserve in life, in business, with your team, and with yourself. If we are really being honest with ourselves, if committing the money is hard today, then that same discomfort is stopping you from everywhere else in your life, everywhere else that you're doing. There is something that you are not even seeing, let alone approach or move in that direction, because the same discomfort which this money triggers in you is also being triggered with everything else. It could be an ask, it could be making a bold proposition, it could be sometimes saying sorry, it could be sometimes being vulnerable with your emotions, right? And it could be a hire that you have been postponing. It could be a difficult conversation that you know that you have to have, but you're not having. It could be a huge, big client or partner that you want to work with, but you have been hesitating and you have been delaying that conversation because you have good reasons. I'm sure you have good reasons, right? So there are things in your life that you're either tolerating or you're totally avoiding, that you already know that the future that you want doesn't fit, it doesn't align. The money was never the point, right? The money was only one of the ways to trigger your commitment. Everything I do is to trigger your commitment and help you see where that commitment is missing, because it is your commitment which produces every outcome, never the other way around. Whatever you have in life today always matches the commitment that you have showed up with until now, and that is often a very difficult pill to swallow if your results today don't match what you wanted them to be. And similarly, any result that you want to have in the future will be an outcome of the commitment that you have today. How you show up, how you act, how you speak, what you ask, what you don't ask, what you tolerate, what you don't tolerate today. Because if you don't match your commitment to the future that you want, your future will never get there. It will be a window of time which will always keep on stretching, which will always keep on sliding. And the journey will also not be fun. It will be full of struggle. It will be full of hard work, effort, but not joy, not celebration, and certainly not of peace and ease. Now, with this person, I actually made him answer this question right in front of me. We almost forgot about the money conversation, and I made the question very real. And I made him answer this question across his whole business in the next 15 minutes or so. And the money part turns out to be the smallest item on the list that he actually made up. The first thing which he wrote down was about his team. One of his real goals is to step back. One of his goals is not just to 5x his business, 10x his profits, but to build a team which is independent, which is accountable, so that the business is not dependent on him. In fact, he knows that the business cannot grow if the team is dependent on him. So if this money, this amount was peanuts, then how would he operate? That was my question. And his honest answer was that he would stop rescuing his team from decisions that they know that they can make themselves. And right now he has to step in. He steps in every now and then. And he was really honest with himself. He said, I like it. I like to be involved. It almost is difficult for me to let go. It feels good to be needed. It feels good to be the hero and who comes in and saves his team. But he answered it, right? Every time he rescues his people, that's almost like voting against the future that he wants. So he told me that he will do that, right? If he is already at that level of commitment, who does not flinch at this amount, then he would stop rescuing his people, even if that means sometimes letting them fail, letting them make mistakes, even on purpose, right? And watching somebody struggle through something that probably he could fix in 30 seconds and then keep his hands in his pockets to himself and not intervene. That is a much, much harder thing to do than the money that I actually quoted him. The second thing on his list was how he would interact with his current clients. Now, if he already believed in his 5x level fully, 5x growth fully, and the commitment that he would bring forth if he were to invest that money without flinching an eye, then he told me that he would still not be charging some clients what he is charging them today. And some of his clients are actually at yesterday's price, not leave alone the price that he would charge when his business is 5x bigger, when they are known for what they are doing. He is today avoiding the awkward conversation to go back to his clients, which are many times people that he likes, that he trusts, that he has relationships over a period of time, and having a real conversation about what is the value of what they are offering to him, what is the value that they are offering, that they want to offer to their clients, and what it will cost them. So the same thing which stops him from making an investment in an engagement together, on the other side, it is also stopping him. It is the same thing that is stopping him from raising his prices, from asking for more rather than pricing his services, his products very conservatively. It's exactly the same thing, and he could see it everywhere. Everywhere he's offering people from a fear of, will I lose this person? But he is not even asking from the dream. If he is really believing in the dream that he wants to do and the quality that he wants to produce, he told me that he would charge people a lot more, and they would pay them happily because the quality then that he will be deliver would be unmatchable. And this was again one of those things that we identified, that if the business has to grow 5x and 10x in profits, it has to be something differentiated. It cannot be something commoditized. It has to be something that stands on its own in the market. It has to be something that he can go to any client and say, you will not get this anywhere else in the market. If you are a business owner, I am sure some aspect of it sounds familiar to you, as it should. The third point on his list was market, his industry, especially the clients that he hasn't even approached yet. Now, this one he was avoiding without even knowing it until he did that exercise. Now, there is a kind of clientele that he wants, a bolder positioning, category of opportunity, and he has never even attempted that. Why? Because somewhere silently he has decided for himself that I am not there yet. I am not big enough yet. I am not credible enough yet. I am not ready yet. Listen carefully, because I am sure there is a similar voice in your head about your dreams, right? Not there yet, or the price is too high, or this responsibility, this project would be too big. It is the same fear, it is the same discomfort, maybe sounding very different in language, in sentences, which stops him and actually tells him that he's not ready yet, he's not there yet, he's not credible enough yet to reach out, to ask, to work, to offer with these big clients that he wants. And I told him, if he is serious about the growth, the bold ask happens now, not when you get ready, not after some invisible threshold of readiness or credibility gets crossed. If you want to work with those big clients, the bold ask happens now. Just like working with somebody like me, even if it is uncomfortable, happens now. If you're really serious about your dreams, bold asks to your team, bold asks to your investors, bold asks to your current clients, and bold asks to your dream clients start now, not when you get ready, not when you have built the credibility, not when you have the evidence for it, right? You don't need any certificate for that. Nobody can give you that permission except yourself. And the last thing which he wrote down in his list was things that he has been tolerating in his own company with his own team, that he privately or in this conversation shared with me that yes, he should not be tolerating, right? If he is already operating at that 5x level, there are things which are going on in the organization which will never allow the organization to get to that scale, which is a much bigger organization, but also an organization which is running because of systems and processes and not because of his personal oversight, right? And he spoke about somebody underperforming that he has not been talking to, that he has been tolerating. He spoke about somebody being quietly carried by the team around them and not pulling their weight, and how he has been tolerating that person. He talked about a process which everybody knows is broken, but something that nobody fixes, because fixing it would mean that they would have to ask so many difficult questions of themselves, because the team themselves brought in that process a few years ago and it used to work, and then over a period of time it stopped working as the business grew. Right now, why does he let all of these things slide? And if you really peel back, what stops any of us from taking action, and what leads us to tolerate what we clearly know that can't survive the future or the dream that we have, is people pleasing. Is how will it look for us if I breach that topic, if I talk about that difficult conversation, and then how will somebody else react? And a version of him still believes the company is not there yet, and that is reason enough for him to avoid and tolerate those elements. Now, whatever those reasons are, whatever the things that you write down as answers to this question, they are not going to wait for you and still hand you that future outcome that you want, right? The changes that you are avoiding in you, how you show up, how you make decisions, how you act, come first before whatever is the future. Because otherwise, this toleration, all of this that you wrote down in this list, is actually creating the future. And I can tell you, it is not the dream future that you want. It is a compromised version of that. It is a tolerated version of that you will have to settle for a future which is less than what you are really capable of and what you really know in your heart, in your spirit, that you want. Let me talk about something totally different, right? Mountain guides. And because I've had the privilege of working with a lot of athletes, and I have heard these stories about mountain guides who take people on very serious high altitude expeditions like Everest level expedition, right? I met somebody a few days ago who is challenging himself to go on the 7 summits, right, which is 7 highest peaks in every continent. So the people who will guide them, the Sherpas and the guides who will guide somebody like that, they watch for something very specific. And this happens not after they start, but much before they start with somebody. And it is not fear, because everybody is afraid, right? So it's not fear. When you take on a challenge of something like this, whether it is increasing your business by 10 times or climbing the 7 tallest peaks on every continent, everybody is afraid. But they watch how the client, how the person handles a small and early commitment, right? When a guide is talking about what equipment to buy if you have to climb the Mount Everest, does the person hesitates, or they immediately go out and buy the right gear, right? Or do they buy the appropriate gear, or do they buy the cheaper gear also? This is something which these guides watch out for. And do they do extra months of training, or do they skip? You want to climb Mount Everest and I am your guide, so I tell you that, okay, change your food habits and go and get this equipment. Now, how fast you act on that, or how much you hesitate to act on that and bring that discipline in your life, tells me a lot about you and your commitment, more than anything that I will actually learn about you from when we actually start that expedition, right? So this is what I've heard from so many people, that these guides, these Sherpas, would not start with somebody if they can smell that hesitation, if they can smell that lack of commitment in people, and they can sense it with brutal accuracy, right? The same person, how they will react at 25,000 feet, they can sense it from how they react when they are going to change their food habits, or when they're going to get that gear that he recommended and not a cheaper version of that. Because that is where the real decision takes seconds, right? That is where there is no time to think. That hesitation when you are still in the comfort of your home often is the same thing which will allow your dream to stay a dream forever. And while those people who will not hesitate, who will change their food habits, or who will get that gear in a few seconds, will be the person who will climb that mountain, climb that peak much faster than those who are hesitating. And both have good reasons, right? The person who starts have good reasons to start, and the person who hesitates has good reasons to hesitate. But the point here is, we are going for something impossible like climbing the Everest, and then there's no point if you can't even change your food habits to get yourself physically fit for what it requires from you on the journey. And your business is the same mountain, or whatever your dream is, whatever the impact, the difference you want to make in the world, it is the same mountain. How you meet the first element, right? The first investment, the first decision, the base camp, how you meet, with which level of commitment you meet whatever is in front of you today, is the same level of commitment that will decide how big you actually go in the future or not, or how far you go in the impact that you want to make in the world or not. So this is what I want you to hear. The discomfort that you feel right now, whether it is about the money, or the money is only a reason, whether it is about anything else that is stopping you in your tracks, it is the same discomfort that keeps you procrastinating and rescheduling what you know already needs to be happening in your life, in your business, in your company, in your team, with this person, with that person, right? So hear me very clearly that discomfort is not a sign that you're not ready, even if you say it that way. The discomfort is the price of admission. That discomfort and willingness to move beyond it, with it, not by overcoming it, is what will allow you and what allows anybody, you or me, to achieve the impossible, to go after something which is beyond what your history shows that you are capable of doing. I'm glad I could have this conversation with this person, because otherwise I would not be recording this video right now. And what I told him in the end was, it was always going to feel like this, and get ready for a ride. Right? There was never a version, and there will never be a version, whether he pays me or not. That same discomfort will not be there. The reason for that discomfort, the reason that triggers that discomfort will always be different, but there is no avoiding that discomfort if he wants to go on that journey and 5x his revenue, 10x his profits. Just like there is no avoiding discomfort if you're trying to climb Everest. Ease, confidence, comfort is only available after you get there, never before. It is always the reward of getting there, never the condition for starting, right? You don't reach there because you are ready to get there. You get ready to get there after you get there. So the question is never that you feel ready. You will not. That was never the point. The question is always, can you pay the price now? Can you feel that discomfort in your bones now? Especially when it is small enough now to carry in a conversation, in an investment. Because this investment is one of the smallest investments that you will have to make if you have to get to that level. There will be bigger investments that you have to make, and that will trigger a bigger level of discomfort as well. So get good at that right now, or otherwise simply be honest with yourself that your dream is only going to be moving forward in a sliding window of time, and forget about getting there in the 3 to 5 years that you're aiming for. So before you go, I will leave you with a few questions, and these are the same questions which I gave this guy. And don't rush. Take around 60 to 90 minutes and let your thoughts get down in a piece of paper rather than letting them bounce around in your head. And I promise you, the answering and reflecting on these questions itself will change your company, will change how you look at the future, your goals, and everything. The first question is, where are the decisions, investments, where you are hesitating, where you are procrastinating to make today? And that you know that is a critical step of where you want to get. It could be a money decision, it could be a bold conversation. So make a list of areas and decisions and actions which you are avoiding, which you know are critical if you have to get to where you want to get to. Second question is, what are you still tolerating? What are you still tolerating in your life that you know is totally a misfit for the kind of dream, for the kind of vision you have for yourself, for your team, for your company? What is it in your life today? Look at your calendar, in your conversations, what you do, the people you surround yourself with. What is a total misfit from where you want to get to? And the third question is, what will it take? What is so scary if you were to go out and change how you're showing up, how you're operating starting today? What is in the way? What will you have to do or be to start going after those big clients today, even if you feel you're not ready, even if you feel your team is not ready? What will it take for you to have those direct conversations that you have been postponing for weeks or sometimes even for months? What will it take to go for those asks, that bigger projects, bigger clients, even if you're shaking in those conversations, even if you're physically terrified and shaking in these conversations? What will it take for you to say no to things which you know are beneath that future success, which you know that cannot survive that future that you want to see for yourself and your company? Make a list of that. Answer these three questions. Your company deserves it and you deserve it.